What's happening? I need to unmute myself. Don't know.
Hey,
Right, okay. Can you hear me, Andrea?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Looking for an unmute button. Oh, yeah, there you
Um,
go. That's it.
can you hear me?
Yeah, don't press anything. Don't press anything now.
No.
You're on. It's technology.
Perfect.
We're on. How are
Yes,
you?
I can.
Can you hear me?
Only thing is, I have an echo and we have a delay here.
That's okay. We can cope with that, can't we? Have you got
Uh,
headphones?
yes,
Should be alright then. My headphones are connected as well. Should be
because
okay.
I literally hear what you were saying 2 minutes ago, or something. It's very weird.
Is that better?
I hope. It's really weird.
Is that better now?
I have I have
No,
headphones.
I no, I actually can't hear you.
Let me try something else. This is not working. Oops.
Right.
No, I literally hear, I get the sound from. Oh, I know why. I know why.
Okay.
It's now I have it. Yes, yeah, we are right, I think.
Is that us now?
Yes, now we are fine.
I'll edit all that. Right. How are you? Are you good?
Good, good, good. And how are you, Christine?
Good. Thanks so much for joining me today for this chat. I'm
Thank you for
actually
having
very
me.
excited about it
Yes,
because it's a big topic, isn't it?
it is a big topic. That's why I started focusing on this about over 8 years ago, and I have helped over hundreds and hundreds of people overcome emotional eating.
So do you want to give a wee intro then, like what you do, how did you get into this then, so that you can tell the members a bit about yourself?
Do you want me to do that now?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, okay. So yeah, okay, so super. So hi everybody. I'm Andrea Caprio. As you hear, I'm German. I lived a bit all over the world and including in Miami. And that is actually where I became a master certified transformational nutrition coach because through my own health history, I came to learn that by changing my nutrition to a healthier way, I was improving my health. I had a lot of health issues. I had migraines. I had bloating. I had some overweight. I had hormonal issues like fibroids, even. I had always brain fog and so on. I realized at the time I was eating too much sugar. And like it is, right, you think you eat actually quite healthy. And, when I realized, oh, there was a bit of sugar here in my coffee in the morning. And then I had the biscuits or the cookies or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And then there was more sugar there and so on. I stopped that eventually and obviously had my issues with it, but I came across a healthy way of eating, and that started me being a nutrition coach. I studied further on because I got really interested in this to help other people because I saw how much it helped myself. What I realized also at that moment, and probably a little bit during my journey onwards, is that it's always so easy to say, hey, eat healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all know we should rather eat the apple, or, the salad instead of the pizza,
A
or
100%, yeah.
um, the carrot sticks instead of I don't know, some cookies or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, life is happening, right? We have stuff going on. We have the stress. We have our children that drive us mad. We
Yeah.
have a boss maybe that calls us in the afternoon and treats us like, excuse my language, shit,
Mm-hmm.
and is really not nice to us and so on. And, or maybe with our husband or partner, we have something going on or whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. And what do? We eat, because eating is our way of coping, right? And it's very often that it's going back into the past, right, from our childhood, often where we learned to cope with food. And that
Yeah.
pattern kind of repeats. And whenever there's a trigger, that's when we go to emotional eating. And that's me, basically, what I help people with.
So, did you manage to cure your health issues through nutrition and stuff then? Like, for example, the fibroids? Interested in that?
So it's a great question. So first of all, I did not cure. I always say, first of all, I cannot use the word curing. I'm not a doctor, but I certainly improved it to a point that
Mm-hmm.
didn't come back. So I don't know if it's a curing or not. But for example, my fibroids, I had my fibroids removed, 3 times removed. I had every gynecologist tell me to do a hysterectomy, which I opposed. And I'm not telling anybody what they should do or not
Yeah.
do, but that was my own, obviously decision here. And when I started changing my nutrition, the fibroids never regrew. Give you another thing. I had roughly weekly migraines, and
Mm-hmm.
since I eat healthy and obviously I walk my talk, I only have maybe I have only migraine maybe 3 to 4 times a year
That's
instead
a
of
huge
weekly.
improvement. Yeah.
I have bloating almost never, whereas before for me bloating was a normal thing. I did not realize, actually, because we just take it, right? We
Yeah.
just think it's normal, whatever it is, and it wasn't. And you only realize it when you're good, right? So, there's so many different things. The brain fog is also, was always tired. Now I have most of the time really great energy because I eat according to my needs, my body. But on the other hand, I want to say that before I forget, I'm not only eating super healthy, because that is also the way I personally believe it's not the right thing unless you really have a serious health issue and you need to eat a certain
Yeah.
way.
I agree with
But
that too.
like I believe in a sort of a 90% of the time eat healthy, 10% or maybe 80-20, but not more, right? So I
No,
do
I
have
agree.
sometimes a pizza, right?
Yeah,
Or
you
something
should,
like
of
that.
course. I'm glad that you said that. I was hoping that you would be on the same wavelength as me, because I think that too. Because I've been very restrictive, a bit orthorexic, not eating anything that I perceived to be unhealthy. But what that was actually doing is that was actually causing me a lot of stress. So actually, the
Yeah.
diet wasn't healthy because it was causing me a lot of stress, and then it was causing me to be very bingy. So I would be very restrictive, and then I would binge a lot, and that's why I love all the psychology behind emotionally and stuff like that you're obviously going to touch on today. But I was just wondering about the fibroids because my mum suffered with the fibroids, and she got a hysterectomy. But if I could turn back time, because this was maybe, it was years and years ago before I was into all this kind of stuff. But if I could turn back time, I would have changed our nutrition and managed it. I know we're not allowed to say cured, but I have also fibrocystic breast syndrome, which can flare up in terms of what I'm eating, and then I can control it if my eating is a certain way. So it just shows you the power of what we're eating. And like what you say, still a little bit of pizza, still things you fancy, but I think on the whole, we do need to focus on eating well for our health.
Yeah, because in the end, if like you said earlier, I fully agree, and I do work. I work with some people who eat too much and some people also who eat too little, right? Too healthy, and then they go into those binges you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously that is sometimes even worse, right, than just eating normally
Yeah.
unhealthy. Not that I recommend it per se, but it has obviously the adverse effect. And I'm really completely against a restriction, or any form of dieting right now. The typical dieting, where you say you cut out food groups, or you eat a certain way that is super restrictive, or you restrict your calorie intake, or whatever it is, because one, it's super unhealthy, and two, like you said, right, it then leads to this losing out, right? You go out with your friends, and they eat everything you want to
Yeah.
eat, and eventually you give in, right? Or you go home and you hide and then eat, or there are various patterns, and that is super unhealthy.
100%. I think that I didn't eat out in a restaurant for about 3 years. So, I mean, that's a huge chunk that you missed out, not going out doing social things, because I was very anxious about the fact I wouldn't be able to eat in the controlled way that I was eating, which to me
Yeah.
was super healthy, not cooking in oil, steaming everything. And then, like what you said, you can't eat out, it's just too restrictive. So then, emotional eating is kind of your big topic. I mean, that's what I want to talk about today, because I like what you said. You can say to people, right, if you want to lose some fat, then just, stop eating this, stop eating that. But yet the cycle continues. But it's because of our behaviour around food. It's not the single food. It's not that you will eat the pizza and then suddenly you've gained fat. It's the behaviours around the foods that can make us not lose weight, or put weight on and just struggle. So what is this whole thing about emotional eating? Is it just we want to eat because we feel sad?
So I always say, okay, emotional eating is one of those things. It's kind of not, I find it not very clearly defined, because very often you have on one extreme, you have eating disorders, right? Anorexia, binge eating disorder, bulimia, whatever it is. And on the other hand, you have things like cravings. Just you have a little craving, because something
Yeah.
happened or so. You crave a certain type of food. And there's a whole spectrum in between. So how do you define that, right? I always say there's so much gray area there. And it very quickly can go from just craving a little thing when you feel a little bit, you know, down, bored, or whatever. And we all have that. I mean, I cannot imagine anybody who doesn't have that. And there's nothing wrong with it, to regularly craving a certain type of foods and regularly. So for me, that's emotional eating, is basically when you eat quantities or when you eat quantities that were not planned, or meals that were not planned. For me, that I would define as and you do that obviously, all the time. That would be for me something that I would define emotional eating, right? Because in the
Yeah.
end, you want to stick that you plan in advance, loosely, or you have a meal plan, or you just plan your food, or so the quantity and so on in advance for your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, and maybe your snacks if you have them. But if you constantly find yourself that you say, oh, I have just one plate of, pasta, for example, and then you end up having two or three plates, or you say, I plan just to eat my main meals, but I don't snack outside of these, and you end up, in the cookie drawer or so all the time. For me, that is definitely something. And when that happens, um, personally, I believe awareness is the first step, right? Very often we find excuses. We say, "Oh, yeah, but it's not that bad," or it's normal, or whatever it is. But when we kind of start, if, for example, you're listening to our conversation and you say, "Oh, maybe she's talking to me," or so, maybe there's something, you probably are right. And
Yes.
then I would recommend to really look into doing tracking actually what you're eating over a certain amount of time, right? So you say for a few days or maybe a week or so, you just track all the things you're eating, right?
Yes.
All the meals, all the snacks, and so on. And like this, you can actually realize that maybe every day at 4 o'clock, you are hungry for a little snack, like a pick me up or something. Or every day when you come home from work, you're sitting in front of TV with a bag of popcorn. Or each time your boss calls or you have an argument with your partner, you reach for the cookie drawer or whatever it is. So if you do that, you will actually realize there is sort of a pattern. And then basically, you want to look into the root cause of this, right? So, first of all, what is the trigger? But what is the deeper lying root cause? So, let's say you're every day at 4 o'clock, you feel like you need a pick me up. That is emotional eating in a way, but very often the root cause is maybe low blood sugar.
Yeah, fatigue, just feeling shattered, that kind of afternoon slump, isn't it? So people do
Exactly.
think I'm going
So,
to have a little tea and a little bit of chocolate or something like that, don't they? Because they're getting
exactly.
that craving, right? So is that okay?
Exactly.
No, or is that
That is okay if you
right?
plan it, right? If that's part of your diet, if you want that, look, who am I,
Right,
to tell you
okay.
it's okay or not okay? But now, what I'm saying there, if it's first of all an unplanned snack because you already had a lot of very big lunch and you're actually not really hungry, you then want to look at the root cause. You want to say, okay, fine, my blood sugar seems to be low. That is the root cause. So, what do I do to balance my blood sugar? Okay, so then you would actually look at having a lunch that is more balanced with probably less carbohydrates because most likely your lunch is, and even your breakfast might have been with too many carbs, not enough protein, not enough healthy fiber, healthy fats. And that's why your blood sugar drops down
Mm-hmm.
and makes you become an emotional eater because you
Right.
react to an emotion. But in fact, there is even no emotion. There's a tiredness. Yes, that is sort of,
Mm-hmm.
um, that you can call an emotion, that you're just fatigued or so. But the only thing that is happening there is there's a root cause, which is your low blood sugar, which you can address.
Yeah, so you can base, and some people when they do change and don't have as many carbs at lunch can feel the difference of that. So say we do that and I go low carb at lunch and I up my fats and everything, but then I'm still doing that kind of, this is craving. I'm still, so it might not be my blood sugar. So then what could it be? 4 o'clock, the kids are out of school. I think a lot of stress comes into play now.
So first of all, normally when you do that and it is blood sugar and you eat correctly, you will have less cravings. I can almost guarantee you. If you, however, have still cravings and your blood sugar is all fine and so on, it could be due to some other emotions, or it could be due to stress or to boredom or anxiety, or it can be happiness as well. It
Mm-hmm.
can be a positive
Yeah.
emotion, right? Doesn't really matter. So, what I then really do and recommend is that once we have addressed the root cause, like for example, the blood sugar, there can be plenty of other root causes, of course. We then look, okay, what else can you do? And I really love to implement other things than eating that you can do. For example, if you feel a little bit, I don't know, tired, just doing some deep breathing exercise
Yeah.
might help,
Perfect.
right?
Ah,
You
I mean,
just need more
easy.
oxygen
Mm-hmm.
and you literally take time, you have 3 deep breaths. That's all sometimes it takes. Or maybe you want to do a very short meditation, or maybe you want to go, for a quick walk or something like that. Or maybe you just a cup of tea actually will do the thing. For
Yeah.
me, a cup of tea. I mean, I have constantly my teas here, herbal
I
teas,
have a little
right?
green
And
tea as well when I hit that. I'll have that. But I used to just eat the kids' play piece the next day and stuff like that, and I'd be in at things. But then when I was like, no, I'm going to start putting an obstacle in front of this type of eating. So then I thought I'm going to have a tea first. If I want it still, I'll have it. But most times I have the tea or I'll have a little bit extra water and I don't. So it's that sort of impulsive. with emotional eating, isn't it? There is almost, there's not a thought process. It's just emotion and then I eat, instead of that kind of the block in the middle between the emotion and the food, isn't it? So it's like trying to be a bit more mindful, I suppose, of the patterns of behaviour and trying to sort of put an obstacle there. Is that what you would
Yeah.
tell clients? Yeah.
Absolutely. You 100% got it there. Yes, absolutely. Because in the end, that's what you want, right? You want to put a stop there, right? And you want to put your attention, be mindful, but then put your attention onto something else. And like you said, very often you're just
Yeah.
thirsty, right? Very often the body mixes up thirst with hunger, and just drinking a glass of water helps you. What I always recommend is just take like a few seconds, like, I don't know, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or something like that. Do something else, and then see if you're still hungry. Then it's fine. A very good idea is also to say, I can have it later, to go back to what we said earlier, because if you restrict it, always you
Yes.
restrict, you restrict, restrict, eventually, you will binge the thing. But if you say, oh, I can have it later, that's fine. Have a glass of water and just continue, and you can say, I can have it later.
That is a thing that was really helpful for me, because actually denying myself of it would make me feel really anxious. I would actually feel anxious all day. And the thought of, say, it getting to 4 o'clock and then me saying no to the thing. But see, when I started to say, if I still want it later, I'll have it, that kind
Yeah.
of changing the way I thought about it and not restricting. Because I have a lot of clients that say, oh, I can't have one biscuit, or I'll eat 5 or 10 of them, It's that kind of out of control eating. And they just think that they're a person that eats the fat. But it's not, isn't it not? It's like the behaviours and the restrictions and the emotion around that food. Instead of just going having one, being mindful, sitting down, enjoying it. It's different to sit and stand at a cupboard,
Yeah.
shoving kind of food in. So it's a different thing. You can have a biscuit, but standing in your kitchen having 5 in the drawer is not
Yeah.
good.
Absolutely. So I like also with that, I mean, besides obviously the best thing is to replace the eating with something else after you looked at the root cause. But also another thing is because, for example, I have a snack in the morning and in the afternoon, but it's a healthy one. And I need to measure it because it's nuts mostly that I eat. And,
Oh,
that, and they're
dangerous.
healthy. They're healthy, but I can eat very quickly far too many
Easy.
nuts.
Ah,
Right?
600
I love
calories
them.
gone.
Yeah, and it's not about the calories, but obviously they
Ah,
can add up if it's just too much. But I have to have a little bowl where I put
I
the
can
nuts.
easy. Yeah, I could
Yeah,
smash them easy, you know. No,
but
uncontrolled.
preparing like an amount, maybe in a little Tupperware or something like that. That you can also work around that one.
Yeah, but it's being mindful, and the fact that you planned it
Yeah.
again is that the key. So it's the kind of, the emotional eating is really the unplanned foods that you're eating. Does this kind of go the same way with alcohol? Like emotional eating, is it like people drinking as well? Is sort of, why do we do this? Why are we doing this emotional eating? What's the reason?
So that's a great question. So yes, just to reply, it's like drinking, it's drugs, it's like any sort of addiction. Obviously, food is the easiest available, and then probably comes alcohol. But food is socially more acceptable, of course. And even alcohol is at certain times, maybe not so much during the day. But so why do we do this? Because we have not learned in general how to cope with our emotions without eating or alcohol or whatever. And that comes in general from
Is
our
that your,
childhood. Sorry,
is
I
that a
don't know
little
what's
dog?
outside. I don't know. It's somebody outside. I have the windows open. It's too hot. Sorry for that.
That's okay.
So yeah, so it comes basically from our childhood where, you know, for example, I have a lot of clients who cope with their emotions when they were a child through food. I give you a couple of examples here, and it makes probably all sense. So one of the thing is, I have one client. When she was a child, the parents came home. They were tired after work. They needed some time off. They wanted maybe to chat in the kitchen or something like that. They put the child in front of TV with a bag of popcorn and said, "Hey,
Yeah, okay.
watch TV, and here's the popcorn." The child was finally happy to have the parents because she didn't see the parents the whole day and thought, the parents don't love me, so I get the chips, and the chips or the popcorn or whatever. That's basically the love I'm getting. So whenever she is nowadays, when she is down, she will reach for the same thing to get love, right? So we kind of were conditioned right from childhood to basically get something that replaces us. The other thing is very often, how often do we get rewarded when we have been a good girl or good
Yeah.
boy or whatever, right? Oh, you've been good, great, you've done great,
Yes. No,
great,
100%.
great.
You've worked a
Here
good
is
working week today, this week. There's a takeaway, there's your wine. I know the food reward thing's really big. I hear a
because
lot of
it's easy.
clients speak about food like, I'm going to have a little treat because I did this and stuff like that. And it goes back
Absolutely.
to being
Yeah.
the
So
little
we kind of
kid.
associate that, and, we just keep it because it's in our subconscious, and our subconscious mind is far stronger than our actual mind,
100%.
right? On the other thing, I also like to share that, which is a little bit a harder thing, is I had a client quite some while ago, actually, a beautiful woman, in 31 years young, and she had been molested and raped several times by her uncle and cousins between age 8 and 14. And at the time, she turned to food, right? To food, one, to get some relief, and two, to make herself be ugly. Put on weight, right?
Yeah,
And by the way, she was very obese, but she was beautiful. And basically, she kept that into her adulthood, right? Because basically, she just kept herself safe in there. And we just continue these kind of patterns from our childhood or early adulthood.
100%. Yeah, there is a whole psychology behind, being overweight for some people. If they even just that's how they've been their whole life. That's the character they fit into, and they tend to keep it up. I get a lot of clients and they really want to lose weight, and I'm like, right, okay. And then see when they start to lose weight, they almost have a sabotage sort of thing going on because their reset is being the overweight person. So it's almost like
Yeah,
retraining your brain because the subconscious mind, it is the non-thinking. It's just it's just going on in the background. That's why emotional eating, it's something that's, once you address it, it's totally life changing. But up to that point, you can be just sort of sleepwalking through things and not realizing that you are the person that's rewarding yourself with food, eating when you're stressed, eating just to feel a different way if you're feeling sad. And it's then getting to the bottom of those issues, which I think a lot of people don't like to dig into. Do you know what I mean? Why are you sitting overeating? Are you bored in your life? And then what's the root cause? Oh my God, I need to go and change my whole life. Am I actually happy
mhm,
in this relationship? So then you
yeah.
have to sort of unpick. And I think a lot of people can be quite scared to do that as well. Do you get a lot of clients like that's the kind of thing? If you're saying, do you ever get that kind of thing where they're sitting bored of meeting and you're like, are you happy in your life? Like, how did this go from a packet of crisps to now I'm getting divorced?
Yeah. So you mentioned one thing is it's really that people people are afraid of change.
Yeah,
And it does not matter if that change is potentially positive or negative, but basically the human mindset is wired in a way that they say, no matter what change, oh my goodness, no, 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 I don't want that because I don't know it, right? Could be better, but it could be worse. So basically most people are really, really reluctant to change. And I see that, sometimes when I start with clients, they're like, initially have a conversation. So if anybody is interested in working with me, usually I would have a conversation. A couple of programs people can sign up directly as well, or they see me maybe in my Food Freedom Foundation workshop or so, and then are interested. So usually they're like, yeah, I want to do it, and then suddenly the fear sets in, and then there come all those little voices in the head that say, oh no, but I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I will never get there, I will fail.
I'm scared to fail, scared to do it, put
Absolutely.
myself out there. I get that as well. A lot of resistance at the start, and they might not even realise that that's what they're doing. Because I'm like,
Sure.
I know it could be hard, but you'll be able to do it. But there's like, oh no, but this, and then I've got this, and oh, I can't do that. And there's loads of it at the start until I suppose you get over all that kind of stuff. So when you work with a client and you do the initial thing, you'll do the same as me. You get the chat, and then they're like, right, I'm going to do this. Then they get scared. All that, the excuses and everything else come, the sabotage. What's the next step that you suggest?
So I may just add to it one thing is that very often it's also fear of success. I just want to add it because often people forget it. It's not only the failure, but the success. Because if they were to be successful, what is the negative thing of it? I have some clients, for example, they say, oh, but everybody in my family is fat. And if they were to lose weight, they would not fit anymore in the
Yeah.
family, right? They're scared that the family members or their partner, whoever, is not will not accept them anymore once they lost the weight. So
Oh,
that's
that's
also
massive, yeah.
something.
With the partners as well, that kind of the partner feels a bit left behind. I get a lot of that. I train females mainly, and there can be a lot of resistance from the husband because they're coming for personal training. Instead of being encouraging, they're a wee bit more like, why are you doing that? Why are you going to the gym? But I guess it's just the insecurities from the husband. But I often find it becomes really damaging for the progress of my client because they're scared of the success. They've got in the
Yeah.
back of their mind, even though they don't know it. Oh, my man might not like this or whatever. So that's a real common one. The fact that you're actually scared to do well.
Yeah, they are. And sometimes I have, for example, women as well, or men, but I work mostly with women, who say, but, I'm actually scared my partner will love me more when I lost that weight. But it's not right. Obviously, the partner should love you equally, no matter if you weigh more or less. I mean, so there's the resistance. So to answer your question about the self-sabotage, so when that comes up, what to do or what I do or how I help them to get over. So it depends really a little bit, but again, I go back, it's awareness. And then basically change the thought. So we have a negative self sabotaging thought. It might be procrastination that sets in. It might be oh, I'm not good enough, valuable, whatever to do it. I will never get there. It might be the black and white thinking, either I do it all in or I do nothing, or, it depends. We are all different, obviously, in there. And again, recognizing that and then change the negative thought we have there to a positive one. So either, let's say we say, oh, but I'm a loser, I will never get there. Write down the wins, right? What have you achieved, even if it's a small little thing, right? So, for example, an exercise like every evening, write down the wins. Three little wins or so is something that can help because slowly you reframe your mind to the positive one. Yes, maybe I haven't yet lost the 50 pounds, but today I spent 10 minutes in doing some exercise and,
Yeah.
whatever, blah, blah, blah.
100% brings you back in to
So
that
that can
moment
be
as well, because you know what it's like when people are trying to lose fat. They're very impatient and they're kind of really far down the line when you're like, you just need to kind of tick off the wee things you're doing well the now and accept that this is a process. So that's what you would do, and it's very powerful, even though it's just those small little things that you write down and you start to change the mindset. It's that kind of compound in it, that trickle effect that
Yeah.
it creates something bigger if you're doing that small thing and it leads on to other. So would you say that's the next step for a client that's sort of sabotaging? Start to write down the positive things and then what?
It depends. So I just want to stop. It depends really on the person, because not everybody has the negative mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's maybe I have that see that a lot as well is the perfectionism
Yeah.
mindset, right? So, for example, I thought I'm perfect, or I'm trying to be perfect what I'm doing instead of moving on to the next thing and just doing one little step. So I might then look at, okay, what's the reason for your perfectionism, and rather, start with one little step, and, for example, start implementing very simple habits and focusing rather on this instead of doing something perfect, like a perfect 5-course meal plan or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, right? So it really depends on the person. I really believe nutrition is like many other things, but it's a very personal thing. We are all different, and that's why it's so important to have somebody like you or like me, that helps people at the level where they are at.
Yes.
Because just, now saying to everybody, yeah, no, just, track this or do this or that, it's just also not the answer. But it's definitely, again, becoming aware and then looking for the smallest little step to get through and learn to put aside the I'm not valuable, I'm not lovable, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about 80% of my work with my clients, actually. And it takes time. So
Yes.
starting with the first small step and then working on the mindset is what always helps mostly.
Because you might get a lot of the questions that I get. I get a lot of people on Instagram asking if I will write them out a food diary. So they want me to write out their breakfast, their lunch, their dinner, the snacks. And I'm like, I could take your money, but it would be a total waste of your money because you can't do that for people. Like what you've said, you're having to unpack all this stuff. So if you write out a food diary, it just you're good at following a plan, but you've not actually dealt with any of the root causes that you've
Yeah.
discussed earlier on that is the reason for these things. Because when you get to the bottom of the reasons, then this is what you can fix for life. The longevity is fixing the root issues.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so full spot on here. Because I mean, if quite honestly, if I would have given out a meal plan to all the people who came initially asked me about it, I would probably be retired.
I know, maybe we
And
should.
yeah, maybe, right? So when I sometimes see certain things online, like
Oh,
certain pills, for example, and whatever, the issue is, like you said, it's about the root cause, and only when you address it, and also when you address it from a holistic way, because we've talked a lot about food now, but in the end, it's not only the food, right? It's equally the food, it's the exercise, it's sleep, it's stress
yeah.
management, it's the
It's that
social
lifestyle.
social engagements, and all these kind environment, all these things, spirituality, psychology, all that is playing a role. And I the training I did to become a master certified transformational nutrition coach was very deep on all those areas, plus was hormones and digestive health and all these other things, mental health and so on, because I think it plays such a role, and you cannot just say, oh, just eat healthy and your things are sorted,
100%.
right?
No, 1,000,000%. With a lot of clients, one of the things I do is shadow work for them
Mm,
to do fat loss, and they are like, what's this? What, can you not just tell me my macros? Why am I doing shadow work? Do you know what I mean? So, like, we obviously kind of work to the same sort of criteria when we're taking clients, which is that holistic approach. But I do see a lot of stuff online like the menopause diet and stuff like that, because I mean it sells well. You
yeah.
get to that age where your body's a bit haywire, you're looking for an answer, then you've got people online going, I can sell you the answer. So I was just wondering, do you have a lot of clients in perimenopause that emotionally eat more now? Is that kind of an issue when you're sort of going through that transition? Do you see more of that?
I have a lot of clients in peri and menopause during that time. I'm through menopause, and for example, to give you an idea, I had going through perimenopause and menopause almost no issues. I have all my friends who have like hot flashes,
Good to
whatnot,
know.
and I had a
Maybe it's a
few.
German thing. My mum's half German, so I'm just going to. Maybe it's that.
I don't know, maybe it is. I quite honestly, I contributed to the nutrition because I had all those hormonal problems prior to that. I believe, I've really balanced my hormones through nutrition and also lifestyle. I mean, that plays a big role as well. So I do work a lot with women in that bracket, peri and menopausal stage, and help them to balance the hormones. Yes, and they usually they struggled before more, and usually when we work, it improves. They lose weight, they have less cravings. They usually also have more energy. That's one of the big things that I see happening with my clients a lot is the energy
Yes.
improves. Obviously, like digestive health, that's a big thing for me. And then, they just become so much more active as well. Very often people then, they can play. Finally, they can maybe play with their children or grandchildren, or they can go on hikes or, whatever it is.
And just live a full life, isn't it? That's what I say to people.
Mm,
It's really great to look good, feel good, but see when you have energy, when you're sleeping well, like these are all things that you
yeah.
cannot be grateful enough to have. Is that health and feel well, and I suppose it does come down to those lifestyle things that you've said, but not just one, all of those things.
Very true.
So before you go, and I will let you go, what's your top non-negotiable things for you to live this life that you have the now? Obviously nutrition's going to be one, but what other things do you do? Say your top three things for your health that you do.
Okay, great question. So for me, the top thing besides nutrition and nutrition, I just want to say for me, the protein, healthy fiber, healthy fats, and not too much carbohydrates is something I, in general, do recommend to many people, most people, and I obviously walk my talk as well. The other thing I highly, highly value is sleep. I think
Okay.
sleep is underrated, and I am a big believer in having a sleep routine or like an evening routine. Sleep your 8 hours, 8 to 9 hours, even sometimes. Probably some can do 7 to 9 hours, but not less, no matter what. And yeah, exercise obviously is also, I mean, I would say it's probably the next one to regular exercise and also have a balanced exercise approach. So not only
Yes.
yoga or not only cardio or whatever, but it needs really, and especially as you age, it needs to be a good mixture of yoga type of exercises, cardio, and weight exercises as
Yes.
well. High interval training and things like that. So you definitely want to combine that. The other thing, maybe, yeah, I mean, these are the main three things. For me, stress is one of those things that I'm personally always struggling. I'm doing better actually nowadays,
I know,
but
but
stress
it's
management is big.
self-employed as well, isn't it? Are you? You've got your own, and it just comes with a lot of stress, doesn't it? But you wouldn't
It
change
is.
it. You do
No,
enjoy
I
that
want.
stress or something. But do you meditate and stuff for your stress?
Yeah. I have a very strict, but strict because I enjoy it, because it helps me to stay grounded. Routine, like a morning routine, an evening routine. I have my breaks. So in the morning, I wake up. It's a routine, and I work it to the T now because it helps me, right? And I enjoy it. But I get up, I do, my tea, and then I go walk my dog, and then after I do a meditation, I have my smoothie.
Yeah.
I prepare my day. Then I start my day, and then I work. I have a pause. In the pause, for example, nowadays I dance, right, because it brings
Or
up
do
my
you?
energy. It's fun. Just one song, literally. but it brings up my
What kind of
energy and
songs are
it's
you into?
fun.
Like
I love
ABBA,
Queen.
Queen?
No,
I
Queen.
don't
I'm
know.
not an
I just,
ABBA fan.
I just thought.
Yeah,
So a
no,
bit of
it's
Queen.
just yeah.
Good.
So Queen. And I dance. So, for me now the work and I do, the high. So I'm very much into productivity. We haven't talked too much. We can do that another time. But
Yes.
my high focus tasks are all in the morning because, I have a top coach, a performance coach who's my coach. And, it's all about your circadian cycle when you do your tasks and, when you should do all your things. So in the morning, I focus on my most important tasks, the creative tasks, but I have my breaks. So, I look forward to it's fun and I work so much better.
Yeah, and you just put that effort in for yourself. Like those are the things you
Absolutely.
do. You're not just flying by going, oh, I've not done this today, I've not danced, now I'm in a bad mood. You're actually having to put some time and effort into these things. Don't just happen themselves. Right, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thanks so much. You can go and dance to Queen now.
I will.
Will you? Right, okay. Right, you take it easy, and I'll put up how people can get in touch with you. You're going to send me all that. Get this up on the Instagram, and that's you.
Absolutely.
You'll be shot to fame. And that's all I can say. Your ambition
Yay!
alone.
Super.
Right.
Thank you so much, Christine, for having me. Thanks for everybody joining us. And if anybody has any questions or needs help or so, I'm always happy to you reach out to me on either Instagram, Facebook, or wherever
Thank you.
you put all that. And I have a really great Food Freedom Foundation workshop, and I can always share that with you
Share
guys
that
as
with
well.
us, and then I'm sure we'll have you on again because that was really great. So thank you so much. Take it easy. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
That was good, wasn't it? But I mean, I've just got this mad image now of her dancing to Queen. I wouldn't have thought that.